Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
second episode of Spooky Season. It's underway.
Halfway.
Well, once you see the film, I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, and we've reviewed it properly, but yeah.
Who says I'm going to put any effort into this?
What do you mean?
Review it properly. I'll review it. Don't mean I'm going to do it thoroughly or properly.
Well, we know how much we like Japanese.
Don't ruin it for me.
So we're going with well, there was options, and I did sort of run that by you as what you wanted.
Well, yeah, but I know that otherwise it was a scary ass woman walking backwards like a spider. Like, no, thank you. Do you want to have to come to bed every single night and have your wife have nightmares?
So I've gone with something a little more, I'd say, light-hearted in a sense, but very
I'll
much
be the judge of that.
Yeah. And so I'm very much interested in your take on this one.
The fact that you're laughing makes me feel uneasy already going into this. I'm not going to lie. Like, the smile on your face and the... like a naughty schoolboy. I like...
I guess, but it might be not for the reasons you think.
Probably because you know I'm going to hate it.
I don't know. You might surprise me, but... So the film we're going to be watching is 1977's House, or Hausu.
Is that how they say house?
I would think so, yeah. Although, interestingly enough, the director had to market it as House for the international market.
Well, yeah, because we were stubborn and back then. When...
So it was 77, but I was thinking, obviously, for reaching a market across the board, in the West or whatever, then it would,
So westernising it a bit more, sadly.
So director is called, I'm going to butcher this, Nobuhiko Obayashi.
Better than I do, so don't worry.
Yeah. And IMDb's synopsis simply reads, a schoolgirl and 6 of her classmates travel to her aunt's country house, which turns out to be haunted.
You didn't tell me about that.
Yeah, but
what a dick move. Didn't say haunted. Nothing in that did you tell me when we were picking.
I just
said it was out there.
It is out there. It's
so all I'm thinking of is like that sausage fingers thing.
What?
The everything everywhere all at once thing.
That wasn't a horror.
No, but it was out there, wasn't it? And it was a bit. And I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think it's going to flip back and forth with what you were saying with that. That's what.
Right. Okay.
I went with.
Well, you have some knowledge of like how Japanese filmmakers perceive things, especially like things coming to life.
Don't tell me it's going to be like a really old folklore thing, where like the samurais and.
No, it's something like it's set in
more modernised.
Modern, if you will.
Okay, yeah. I can cope with that. Haunted, though.
I don't know what you mean by samurai. Have you got a problem with samurai films or something?
just the. I think what was that one that we watched? Not the Last Samurai.
No, not. I've not seen that film.
The folklore one where it was black and white. It wasn't the one that was like 3 hours.
I don't have to look at the shelf because I don't know what.
I think it was like the spooky one. But it was like a couple of compilations and we reviewed it and you were like, oh, people are saying this is meant to be amazing.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Quaidon, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not of that era,
right.
if that makes sense. But yeah.
I'm intrigued, but the haunting is screwing with me a little bit because I'm like, you know me, I don't like anything haunted and it's in a house and that's going to scare me because...
I live in a house.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It could happen to me at any moment.
No. Because we know it's not, like something that murder didn't happen here or anything like that.
Well, we don't know. You don't know that. This is an old house. You don't know.
I think you would have noticed by now if there was something.
Well, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's go with these things you got to think. Anyway, that's...
Either one would freak me out. Go off lightly with Wicker Man, I think.
So we'll be back very soon with Sophie's thoughts on Hausu. Makes sense when you see the film.
I say it like a ghost. Is it the house talking? Is that its name?
That's what the credits do.
Hausu.
Sort of like that. Yeah.
Movie Friends is a film podcast for everyone, where two friends discuss some of the greatest
Seth.
films. Yes, Michelle?
Did you rehearse that?
Well, I'm reading it off a script for the commercial.
It's really not a commercial, it's a promo, but
Oh.
did you really think a script could describe our show?
Words are generally what are used to describe things,
No,
so yes?
no. Our show is fun. It's all about the dynamic between you and me and how you're a movie guy and how I'm definitely not a movie guy.
But you are like a movie guy.
No, and we talk about movies and we talk about life and cats and we're joking all the time. People listen for that stuff, not the movie stuff.
Right, but the movie stuff is like, that's the stuff.
Wow, maybe you should have rehearsed this more.
Movie Friends. It's a podcast about film.
It's a podcast about friends. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon at Movie Friends Podcast. We want to be your movie friends.
And we are back. Having visited Hausu.
I knew you were going to do that. I was waiting. Like, your lips were poised to...
To pronounce it right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I weirdly like it, and I don't know. It's weird, it's strange, but the humour, I don't know, something about Japanese humour that does actually make me laugh, and that's really bizarre for me to say.
Why is that bizarre? Is it
because it's over the top and so like is it Takeshi's Castle? Like that kind of vibe it had to me. Like
okay.
with but the reactions are just really comical and
it's very over the top, isn't it?
But it's not like an American comedy. It's still quite, I don't know.
It's definitely a cultural thing, that's for sure.
But it works better for me for some reason. I enjoy it more, and I was laughing, and I did think certain bits were funny, and I didn't anticipate that I would be laughing because it's meant to be a horror-ish film.
Yeah. So going to a little background history of the film, because obviously, I've actually done the effort for this one, because I didn't know like what you'd be like, what the hell kind of thing. So I kind of gone in with some notes on how it came to be and all that kind of stuff.
It is bizarre, it really is, but I don't know, it's quite innocent in a sense as well.
Well, it's funny you should say about the innocence in a sense, because Toho, the studio who did a lot of the Japanese releases for movies and stuff, looking for like a director to come up with like a concept of a film that was going to be like a big summer blockbuster, something like akin to Jaws at the time. That was like really big smash hit globally. Yeah. So like we need to have something that's kind of stand out and be like very flashy, because it was at a point where I think that they were struggling in the 70s, kind of like, well, kind of having the same kind of things here, and the ticket sales and stuff aren't doing so well, so we need somebody to come on board and make something quite like punchy, like in your face kind of thing, and just like draw people in. So they had the director Obayashi in mind, even though his background was more from advertising, like commercials, basically. And so I think that's you see a lot of that in the film, which we'll kind of get into as we go, go through some bits. But fun enough, he approached his daughter about idea, because when she's like 10 years old, and she was like, oh, I had this weird dream about things attacking me like futons, because they're quite heavy, and like trying to lift them up into visit the grandparents' house. So it felt like they were actually attacking me and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. What else have you been like thinking? What else scares you? And things like grandfather clock seemed like quite terrifying. Just walking down the hallway and that bung bung sound and everything, and other things like watermelon in a well, feeling like it was a head.
Yeah.
And when you're playing the piano, learning when she was younger, felt like the keys bit her. So all these kind of concepts come into play in the film. So the director's like, I'll run with this and put it all together.
Was his daughter?
10 years old at this point. So, and she actually appears in the film itself. She's a little cameo. And I think
that must be a bit scary for her, really, though, because all her fears that she said have just been put into a film. So it's a bit like, I don't know, me saying to you everything that I'm scared of, and then you making a film about it.
Yeah, and addressing it to the world, essentially, like what?
Yeah.
But instead of the childlike aspect of things, it's kind of, that's what a child would come up with of being scary.
Yeah,
as opposed to
like-
a killer with a knife kind of thing.
And I think that's why I like it, because it is your mind. It's all your mind, isn't it? Playing kind of tricks on you. And I know when I was little, I hated my hair getting cut. So I used to cry and I used to say it hurt. Like she was when my hair was, when she was cutting it was hurting my hair. And I could feel it being hurt. And clearly
see, that in itself you could easily make some horror director or someone could make that into like a concept of like, you know, the hair that was kind of like a thing and it was actually alive and you start bleeding as soon as you start cutting. I don't know, like
or screaming or something when it gets cut. I don't know. But I remember vividly that was something for me. I remember crying and being pathetic about when you're little. Oh, well, I hit the nail on the head. Maybe that's why I like it, because to say for my age, I think there's an innocence still somewhat there, even though I have seen a lot of things I've grown up compared to my younger self. I still think people think I'm a bit naive and a bit innocent, which I don't really want that to go away, to be fair.
No, you've got to embrace that a little bit.
Yeah. And I quite like this because it is the idea of, they are quite young, they're quite sweet girls. They're really nice. I think it's like one of those things where it reminds me of, I think we have it mainly with boys, where we have like them introduced, or what was that one? The Goonies, is it?
Yeah, the Goonies is one where you've got a whole gang of kids,
Yeah, so kind of like that, but this is the girl kind of version, where I think Japanese culture do have a lot of female actresses, and that's because of the anime and all of that. And I think that's nice to have that kind of equivalent of a couple of girls going to a house and
7 in total, but yeah.
I don't know, it works.
And they all have their own little roll calls as well, like title cards, and like they have their own sort of personalities that just basically describe their personalities in a sense.
But it works because it made them more memorable to me, at least. Like Mac,
and not forgettable. It's not like a typical Japanese one, like, oh, who was that again, kind of thing. Yeah, it's right, like an English interpretation of a name, so it's kind of like easy to remember.
Mac, who loves the food, and we were a bit like, why? But it's because of the stomach.
It's a bit of a stretch, but not like mac and cheese or anything.
I was thinking McDonald's. Then we've got Angel, who's the lead.
Oh yeah, which interestingly enough, there's a couple of instances where the names are different in the subtitles. Like we watched, just for convenience sake, really, the UK release that I've got over here, but in the American like Criterion disc, the subtitles read it differently. So for them, she's called Gorgeous, where in this one she's called Angel.
I prefer Angel, to be fair. Gorgeous is just, anyone can be gorgeous. Angel, because she's wearing a lot of white and she's quite...
she's more heavenly.
So I think that actually works.
And I think it's the same for Sweet and Sweetie, but that's fairly close anyway, isn't it?
Which one's our version?
Sweetie.
Sweetie, yeah. I'm glad. I like anything with an IE on the end. You know me, Sophie.
Yeah. We've got Prof, who's the one who's got glasses, so she's...
She don't come into her own until the end. I feel like you don't get much of her until the back end.
She's more just like pointing out the plot. Like Velma from Scooby-Doo type.
Yeah.
In a sense. We've got who else? We've got Fantasy, has fantasies about...
I think that would be me a little bit, because I'm in the head a little bit, and I would be straight away thinking, oh, well, where's Matt gone?
Yeah.
What's happening? So, yeah. And I think she gets the worst
of it. Yeah. And Kung Fu, who's probably my favourite one, actually. I think it's just because of the... she gets she has her own little theme music as well, doesn't she? Like, when things start happening as well, so I think it's kind of makes her stand out more than everybody.
I don't know, Mac still, I don't know, she was quite a happy little, even though she didn't last long, bless her.
Oh, and sorry, we've got Melody as well, who's the musical one. But who's your favourite then?
Fantasy.
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah.
I get it. And I feel like she cares about everybody and ends up being like, why are you sending me out there on my own? Because every time she does, something bad happens. So, like, I don't know why they are sending her, like, why isn't somebody coming with her? But she just kind of end up lasting out the longest, pretty much.
We're back to the fact that it seemed like a advertising background for the director, because like there's certainly more at the start anyway. There's kind of like those instances there, and there's one sequence where it almost feels like it is gonna like a commercial break, where it's to say the daughter's doing like that shoe cobbling or whatever it is
Yeah.
that she's doing, and it's like, oh, hey, Mr. Verne, and as if like, I don't know what this would actually be advertising if this was a thing, but who knows, it's Japan, so.
I think that's what I love about putting like Japanese commercials on, because I think we did watch a bit of telly, didn't we, when we were there, and obviously we didn't, none of it's in English, clearly.
Yeah.
But it's quite comical just to look at it and how bright and colourful and...
Yeah, loud in your face with it.
Which is really bizarre, because actually when you're in Japan, they're so humble, so quiet, so polite and respectful that the television is like ramped up to a next level.
Yeah.
I do think it's funny how we have these zoom circles, that's what I call them, I don't know if there's a technical word, where it's like a cartoon.
Oh, like a fade in, fade out almost, like a cutaway. Yeah, to do that. Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many different techniques that this film uses, like the stop frame, animation.
It's kind of like when you got them going to the aunt's house and they're travelling there, the way that they do that makes it feel a bit like cartoonized, like they get off a bus and then they're in the middle of nowhere with... It doesn't look real, does it? Like it's like a backdrop. But
then they're actually in the actual backdrop is behind the backdrop that they're implicating. So it's like, that's weird. Yeah. Like, there's no need, is there?
It's really colourful as well, and making it more vibrant. The characters as well, like the guy that gives the watermelon, he seems like quite a character and a bit weird.
He's actually the composer. I think he had some involvement in terms of the music of the film. There was the band, you kind of see him as they're going on the train, actually do a little cameo, like giving the high five, or like seeing him off on the train and everything. But he is actually, then he does the Hausu.
Oh, does he?
To say, because that deep tone of the film. But yeah, I think obviously the director's used like people he's used in commercials before. Like I think all the girls have been in his work before, so obviously they're used to working with him, even if it was a short stint, really. But so it all seems like a close knit group of people that
he's selected for it.
But also on the fact of another commercial example is like when Gorgeous or Angel, her story is about her dad coming back from Italy after on the film composing, and then introducing her as your new stepmother, and then she's got that sort of like perpetual wind, innocent, like her wind blowing behind her as if she's like advertising like some kind of like a perfume or some kind of...
I actually thought she was a bit of a baddie in this, actually.
Yeah, it's throwing a curveball on that. Yeah, like as if like, here she is, and it's like there's something mysterious about her.
So I think it's more kind of the air of like regal, beautiful, and everything that they're going for. But for me, it's like, oh, she's a witch, or there's something she's going to take over and get
stepmother.
But it never really happens that way. But obviously, for Angel, she's got to a point of where she's been a daddy's girl all this time. Her mum died when she was 8 years old. She's had a daddy all to herself, and it's just been her and her dad against the world. And then, like any parent who is a single parent, bringing somebody new into that mix is a bit hard. And she's not really happy that to be fair, he's rushing it a bit. She's only just met her and he's like, oh, she's going on vacation for 6 weeks with us. It's a bit too much, isn't it? And the other girls, bless them, they go to like this...
Oh, they want to go to this like summer camp or something with this apparently hot teacher who's Mr. Togo. But he's got these like mutton chops on the side. I'm thinking he's not that
dishy.
But apparently to the girls, I think it's fantasy at least, definitely is. But
I think when you're younger though, as long as somebody's nice to you, you fancy them, don't you? Back then. Yeah.
So then that trip blob. So then Gorgeous is like, let's all go to my aunt's house. I've kind of like written to her because you stumbled upon her from the photos that you had in a box and everything. So she's reaching out to her, and so it just happens that they're all going on vacation together.
And they all pretty much get the axe because the auntie is a witch, I'm guessing, or something.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like hocus pocus, like she eats them to rejuvenate her.
It's that kind of styling thing. But what I also found interesting, though, from this watch as well, particularly, is how seems like another, like, how bad war is again, because there's like when they're on the train and like talking about, they're doing like a commentary on like what happened with her aunt. She fell in love, he got drafted into the war, and all that kind of stuff. So they're actually, it's kind of interesting, like kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit with that, and like say, oh, look how pretty she looks, and and
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
kind of stuff, and like, oh, he's cute and all that kind of stuff, and then I think the subtitle said about the Hiroshima bomb going off. Oh, it looks like a cotton candy cloud or something, like the kind of innocence of all. Obviously, they don't have no idea like how
impactful
it was to other people. I think the director as well, he's lived through it, and so he lost obviously a lot of people, friends and family, all that kind of stuff. So I think the film seems to be saying something about the fact that, you know, the kids who don't know the harms of all the horrors of the war, they got off lightly, they shouldn't be having fun. So they aren't like teaching them a lesson or something like that in all this kind of, because she couldn't, you know, she lost her love, and
I think she was quite envious of her sister as well. I feel like I got that, even though it wasn't said, but like there's a shot
just implied, with the wedding ceremony and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, and you can tell like she's a little bit bitter about it all because she didn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the connection is, if how close her and Angel actually are, because
what they aren't. Sorry.
Yeah, because initially I was like, oh, Angel won't get kind of, I don't know, killed off or anything like that. And then it makes it sound like she does somewhat get.
Oh, right. So what, she'd be the only survivor of it all?
Yeah, maybe because she's like related, or she'd be the last one because.
Well, she kind of is, isn't it? She's kind of like becomes the new host of the house, essentially.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like the power of it, because obviously the aunt isn't alive because it's been many, many, many years.
But I think it's like when she's in the mirror putting the lipstick on initially, you think, oh, she's a goner then at that point because I can't find her.
Yeah.
So it's quite clever the way it does it. And then obviously then she comes down and she's clearly not herself then, is she?
No.
But the way that they all kind of get, like you said, the futons with...
that was Sweetie, I think. Yeah.
Sweetie. Mac with... I think, is it
That's the watermelon. She gets one from the watermelon man and goes to put it in the well to keep it cool because the fridge is broken. So
Fantasy gets bit by Mac's head, and that's like the first kind of scene where you think, oh, this is what the horror...
so would you say that was like very horrific in sense, or just weird horror?
It's weird horror. It's not too gruesome, not really. No. It's just quite bizarre and a little bit comical with how scary, because it could be scary, but
to a younger audience,
But because you've got like your adult head on, thinking, oh well, futons are not going to attack me, and noise a watermelon. It just makes it more funny, I guess.
It does, yeah. There's an instance when Angel's in like having a bath, and there's like the black hair that's going to be synonymous with like, you know, like Ringu and other like Japanese horror with a black-haired girl with over her eyes kind of thing. It's like I don't know if that's like the first instance of that occurring. Maybe in other films it might have done prior, but I feel like that's a good like that's a bit
shudder.
Yeah, in a sense.
It does have an eeriness to it, and it keeps you on your toes because you don't know what to anticipate, and you can't predict this film whatsoever. What's going to come next?
You have to experience the film. You can't really. You can explain the basic premise like we did at the start, where it's like, a group of girls go to a haunted house, basically. That doesn't explain what you were in for when you go into this. So this is why I was very much interested to hear what you had to say about the film, or what you thought about it, really. And like, I didn't know how you would find it. Oh, would you even find it that scary, or would you be like laughing? But it sounds like you've kind of an enjoyable ride from embracing it and seeing, you know, like knowing what you know about Japanese culture now, as opposed to somebody who has no clue on what to expect. They might be like, "I didn't get it," kind of thing. And
maybe, yeah. But I feel like for me, I got off lightly for Halloween with this one, and I'm quite happy. I know, to be fair, you did make me kind of pick between. I think it was this
Ringu
or this, and I was like, I'm gonna go this one because I'm gonna keep it safe, and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it, and it's been something you've had on your list for a long, long time.
Yes, yeah.
Where I keep going, oh, what's House every time it's on your list because I forget what they are, and every time you have to explain it to me. But like you said, the way that you've explained it in a nutshell isn't the
doesn't come
quirkiness
close to, you have to just see it for yourself, really, to see what it's about in a sense.
It captures your attention because you don't know what's coming next. You don't know what is going to happen. I could not predict it at all, and I think that's why I enjoyed it, because it was innocent, light-hearted, funny, but it kind of made you feel a bit uneasy, but not in a absolute petrified way. But you were like, oh, what's going to be the next thing that happens?
There's no real sense of realism.
No.
At all. I think the director purposely went for that. Don't be like the fact of going for that. It's almost like a fantasy horror, basically,
Yeah, or like
because
a dream
it's
state.
just over the top, really, and everything that goes on, and it's like, oh, it takes you aback from things, and it's like, oh yeah, this really wouldn't happen. So you're taking it as that, and then you're going for that experience as you're watching it, which is really effective, I think, for what it is. And I say you couldn't remake this now. I don't think it would. They could try, but they'd fail miserably, I think.
Yeah.
Even if by that I mean like an American version, there's no way that you could.
If the Japanese wanted to do something similar to this, I think it would be a bit more gory. I think the innocence wouldn't be there, but they could redo something similar. But I think
Who's they? Sorry.
If the Japanese culture wanted to pick something again like this, I think they could probably
Ramp it up even more. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the auntie dying, so is she like haunting, possessing the house, and is Angel actually dead, or is her aunt kind of possessed her body? How do you interpret the ending?
I say she's alive. She's obviously like a sense like the ghost of her aunt, or the house has taken on her form. Essentially, she's now one and the same with.
Do you think it's her and her aunt? Is that what you're trying to say to me? There's more than one person haunting the house, but then that would mean she's dead.
No. I think that she is. I'll say now her aunt, in that she lives in the house now, and she's the sort of the spirit that resides it. But obviously, like the end when the stepmother comes and sees her, she sees her as normal, like she's taken as that she's that real, not a ghost.
Yeah.
Because why would she suspect that? Because it's not like, oh, you've been dead for so many years or whatever. It's just ghost in that sense. But
it seems strange, isn't it? Because like, what happens to her auntie? Is it like because you could when you were seeing her.
I mean, to be fair, I think it was after the fact of when they're all that, like the parts at the back end where everything goes to extreme with like Kung Fu gets half her body cut off, and so she flying kicks the cat on the wall, which we'll get into the actual cat in a minute. But when that happens, it kind of like releases the spirit, and then the picture that's on the wall like kind of opens up and like spews blood and everything, and kind of like that's essentially sort of destroying the spirit that's in the house, in a sense.
So it's kind of a bit like The Shining then, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the cat itself in many ways is sort of a representation of a couple of things. I think like in the most sort of like I say a sense of a vulgar term, because cat being like referred to as pussy, and that the cat, because it spews blood, and it's sort of like a woman's rage in a sense, if you could think about it that way.
Well, you mean when she's having a period?
When a woman has a period, yeah, and just that sort of anger could be seen as that. I don't know, maybe just straws there, but like the fact I've also heard that the cat, from other people's interpretations, that the cat could also be to do with like the bomb of Hiroshima, like when the gleam of the eye, whoosh, like the sparkle that it has in its eyes, that's like signifying like a igniting explosion type of thing, and that's why all the chaos is in June, because whenever the cat's around, there seems to be trouble, doesn't there?
But then Japan loves cats anyways, so I don't know if they did in the 70s, but I know that obviously that is a big culture for cats,
but yeah, you have your good cats and
so I just feel like maybe that's like, oh well, she's had a cat, or maybe the aunt is actually in the cat.
Yeah, it kind of like switches in between, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it could be like a bit of a reincarnation. She could have come back and as a cat and
embodied within the spirit. Mm-hmm. So the cat anyway is
Snowy.
That was another difference. It's called Snowy in this English disc that we got,
which I joked and said it sounds like something I'd call my pet, because I had a pet rabbit called Snowy. And when we had Arthur, I was on about all snow kind of related.
Mm-hmm. But in the American one, it's called Blanche, which I think I prefer Snowy, to be honest.
I don't really know where Blanche comes from.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like blanc, like the French. I think it's the French word for white or something. But,
right.
Or something like that, or maybe, but
Snowy's better. I'm glad you agree.
Sounds so much of a human name, and that sounds daft, doesn't it?
Who say that? And our cat's got a human name.
No, but in like I don't know, it sounds odd, doesn't it?
It does, it does. It's not like, I feel like a pet's name normally is endearing, at least.
Like, yeah, you'd like to say a black cat called Sooty or something, or...
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
Casper.
Yeah, I don't know. But you said, I remember you quite clearly, you said like when there was a musical number, in a sense, when all some of the like shenanigans were going on, the soundtrack that kind of keeps repeating annoyingly. It's one of the small gripes I have with the film, but there's like a little cat remix going on when the piano meow 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 meow, and you're like, oh, I love it.
Well, because it's a cat related, and I think it was really cute as well, the way it was doing it. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's just, yet again, everything about Japan, and it's just the way it's done is just delivered with greatness.
That sort of like reverse footage thing going on as well. And all these other things, like the aunt at that point is like, she goes in the fridge, I think, and Fantasy like, oh, got startled for whatever reason because she goes in there, and then immediately the aunt's then like in the top corner of the frame, like looking at the audience, almost like a wink kind of thing.
And the way that she's walking on the beams and like doing a little dance, and it's just.
And then dance with that like old skeleton prop and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like hands. With the eyeball thing when she's got it in her mouth, like
the watermelon.
Yeah. It's silly little things like that, and it's obviously all in Fantasy's head a little bit.
Yeah, she's the only one who can see it.
But also
just playing tricks on her, basically.
Yeah, because she knows she's naive.
Fantasy, no one's going to believe you, type of thing. One of the other things I remember you saying, I think we did kind of say at the same time, was when Melody's at the piano and sort of like doing a different interpretation of the theme that kind of keeps playing through the film, and she's like touching the ivories, as we'll say, is when it's like ding and ding. That was like sound like the opening to Welcome to the Black Parade.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
Chemical Romance.
Yeah, I think that was the most gruesome part as well. Was when she'd kind of got all her fingers kind of bitten off. That was like the most goriest it kind of got, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But it's kind of also a bit unsettling that she was kind of like laughing, like almost like hysterically at the fact.
And then got it by the...
And then the arm got bit off, and then, that was a bit too much. Kind of like in a bit of a shock of it all. After the fact, like, it's fine with the fingers, but... And then... Later on, I think the fingers are playing the keys by themselves, and that's kind of a bit like, ooh.
But it's cleverly done, and still kind of to a point of where it's a bit cringy, but it's not like absolutely horrific. And I think that's what works.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue like, it looks a bit dated with some of like I think it's like the green screen or blue screen effects of it, but that's just out of the time, and it's like...
I think so, but at the same time...
It sort of adds a bit of charm to it,
I think it does, because I think that's what they're going for anyways.
Yeah.
So, like, again, with the circling in and all of that, and the double green screens, and it's not... I think it's... Even for its time when it was out there, I don't think it was the perfect as it could have been for, like, the 70s. You know, it was not, like, spot on then.
But it was a big hit with younger kids, as you can maybe imagine. Yeah, that's the target audience, so it did really well.
I'm a young kid, then. Is that what you're saying? That's why it's worked well for me.
But one of the things I'm not so keen on, I don't know if it's probably more of a cultural thing that it happened, but because of the fact that a lot of the young girls, I'm not sure, obviously if they're in school, I don't know what age they're supposed to be when they're sort of, they're going for, I don't know if they've finished school indefinitely at that point, or they've maybe 15, 16-year-olds.
Maybe they've got another year to go.
But the use of, I know it's not done in like a sexual way, but like the fact that there is nudity with them, it sort of taints it a little bit. Like, do we really need?
Do you mean with Angel being in the bath and
you can
Karate Girl being in her knickers?
That not so much, and more like just when I think Prof, for example, like at the back end when she's sort of like dissolving in the blood and everything, it's kind of like you see her body basically being deteriorating from that blue screen or whatever it is that's doing it. But things like that, and it's a bit like. I know it's not, I don't know how to feel about it really, it feels a bit wrong, but it's not in like again, not done in a sexualised way, and especially like, you could even argue with the fact of when Fantasy at the very end, sort of like the last survivor of the ordeal, and she kind of embraces Angel at that point where she's still like the mother figure. She's kind of like holding her in her arms, and there's just like that one breast that she's got there, like in a mother's embrace, essentially. So, but...
actually, thinking about it with fantasy, I don't really see, apart from, correct me if I'm wrong, what happens with her. Like, you just assume she's obviously not going to survive.
Yeah.
But you don't really see anything tragic.
No. After that, no.
I think she's just been tormented enough.
Yeah, and then something happens to her off camera.
Yeah.
I think. Whereas things like the Mr. Togo, when he does arrive, he gets, I think he must just get turned into bananas. And there's another thing of that reverse thing. You go banana. And the Watermelon Man gets turned to a skeleton.
Yeah.
That kind of, weird jarring effect and all that kind of stuff.
It's good. Really good.
Lastly, before we go into the scores then, like, I know I said about the sort of repetitive music and stuff, but the other tracks that we had, like, it's certainly more at the beginning, which again felt like more of a commercial songs, pop songs. What do you think?
I enjoyed it. I did, because initially it felt like you were watching like a teenage kind of school
drama.
And it was like, oh, this is quite nice. I'm enjoying this. Really light-hearted. And then it kind of gets a little bit weirder as you get on, but the music and everything's just pretty solid, I'd say. What are your thoughts?
No, I've really enjoyed it. In fact, you'll probably see from the Instagram photo that it's been sitting on the shelf for a while, but to actually right now you've seen the film, I've got the vinyl soundtrack of it. Now I can play it and you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that thing.
I'll appreciate it more than just this random thing you put on.
If I put it on, you'd be like, what the hell is this kind of thing.
Right.
So
yeah, put it on and have a listen. See if I remember anything. There better be the cat part to it.
No, because listen on Spotify to go through it, but before...
Devastated.
There's no cat remix, unfortunately. No keyboard cat.
Don't want to listen to it now. Let me down.
Right, well, if that's everything, I think we'll go to scoring.
Okay.
Which, of course, is you first.
Yes, because all Halloween will be me first. So we're backtracking to how we used to be.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I've got off lightly for a Halloween one. I really enjoyed it. I would watch it again. It's not that scary. It's quite comical, light-hearted, fun. It's definitely full-on Japanese. So if people aren't into that, then I don't think it'd be your thing. It is over the top, but joyful at the same time and vibrant. And even though it gets a bit sinister, it's not too much. It's not too gory. Not much bloody.
No, not really. No.
And to say it's something haunting, or meant to be like a haunted house, that was normally my indication of, right, okay, no, we don't want to watch this.
It's more like a fun house, isn't it, really, essentially?
Yeah.
In the loosest term.
It's not so bad. I thought, because of girls and stuff like that, and got myself, this is not what I anticipated when looking at it, going into it. It wasn't.
No.
So, I'm going to give it an 8. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, considering you said last episode was like, I don't think anything's going to be really high.
Yeah. I think this is it. So, Paul, we've peaked at an 8, okay? I think we're going to go downhill.
I'm happy that you enjoyed it.
Thank you, darling.
Because, as I say, I think I knew going into it you'd probably like it because of the sort of like the culture that's you know about and sort of know what to expect from what other stuff we've kind of watched and seen and all that kind of stuff. So
I was kind of thinking it would be more on the line of, I forgot what it's called now. Battle Royale kind. I didn't know if it was going to be a bit like that, which I enjoyed. Don't get me wrong, but that is more kind of gruesome,
gritty. Yeah.
Didn't know if it was going to go down that line. I didn't think it was going to be so comical.
Yeah, so a light-hearted horror film for the season, and I think it's one that anybody should check out for at least once to see if because it's so unique in what it has to offer. And for me, it's not top marks because there's certain things I have the icks about with it, really. But I know that's for some people that may not even bother them take them out or anything like that for the film. But for me, it's a bit like I'm not sure I can gel with that too much. But for everything else that's involved in it, and it's just so wacky in a sense. And it's not, obviously, it's not that particularly scary, but for a young child, it probably would be quite out there and thing. So it's maybe a first, not the very first, horror film to watch for kids, but especially if you don't understand what the background of it all is. But it's been quite interesting going through all this having a bit more research into like how, like where the directors started from, because this was his first feature film as well. So the studio took a big risk with having him on board from just directing commercials to doing this. So, but I think it paid off, and he's he's cemented as being one of the greats. But I'm going to put it at a 9. Yeah,
I thought you would, to be fair.
Yeah, because it's just something you really should just like embrace and just get on board and just, it's not, maybe not say leave your brain at the door, but just have an open mind when you go into watching it is all. But I think you for most people, I think it's a wild ride, and obviously watch with a lot of people. That's probably a good experience as well to do as well. So
2 down,
2 to go.
2 to go, yeah.
Next time will be the Patreon pick. So things will be sort of like plateaued at this point, and then it might go.
I've got a bit of a level of anxiety. I'm not going to lie. Not that I think the Patreons are mean, but I think it's more.
Well, me.
Yeah, because basically they only get to pick out of what you give them.
Yeah, of course.
And
which I'm still toying with the idea of which way I should go in, even from that, not just from the 2 films, but to sort of.
Because I haven't really been that scared yet.
Yeah, to say it's. I mean,
yeah.
But they are, what we've covered so far are films that I did want you to see and give your opinion on, which I'm glad we've done, regardless of not like in the sense of you've been bricking yourself. So
no, I haven't.
That's not the intention, of course.
I don't know, I felt like it might be, it's going to ramp up these next 2, and that's why I'm like, oh.
But, as I go on to Patrons, so, if we get some other people to help in the voting, then
oh yes, so if you do want to be a patron and you don't like scary films, now is the time to become one. So you can vote for a film once a month, and it's only like £1 or $1.50 to become a patron.
And to do that, you go to patreon.com/SP Film Viewers to do that, and then
do that, and then basically vote for the least scariest new patrons. That is, yeah.
Well, so the
help a girl out.
Also, the current ones we've got all voting, but
yeah, there's no point in me asking them because I know what they're like. Yeah. So going into here, we've got my mum. She will be on my side. She will pick the least scariest, but this doesn't mean it will help me, because we have, for example, Jonesy, who is your king of horror films or scary films. I feel like he's like your little buddy on that.
Yeah.
And he's going to go with anything that will shit me up because he'll think it's absolutely hilarious. So if you do want to follow him, he is on Instagram under the handle Weight Loss Jonesy. But we have Emma, who is literally just like me. But yet she doesn't have to watch the film. So there's a bit of a difference. So if you do want to see Emma, or find her on Instagram, she is under M_Hayton. So you can find her on there. So we'll see. So maybe Mum and Emma might help me out, but the rest, I'm not holding any faith.
We've also got Shani, who says she likes horror, so sort of help out in this instance, of course. But whether what way it sways, we'll have to see, of course. But she is under the handle SDOG on Instagram, and her husband to be Alex, good friend of ours.
He's a bit of a wimp, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not so much a fan of horror films.
That's okay.
But he is under the handle Desperately Seeking Username on Instagram.
We've then got our lovely friend Gren. So he's a bit, I don't know, more sci-fi, isn't he, I'd say.
But he does like his horror as well.
Yeah. Well, and I know Gren, he's not going to want to not put me through it. Because he likes me screaming. So if you want to find him on Instagram, he's under cgren_draw.
We've also got Nico from the Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast, who is also a big fan of horror. He's particularly like folk horror stuff, so he was quite happy that we kind of covered The Wicker Man.
I don't know if he'll have been happy with my responses.
By the time this episode comes out, we'll have recorded an episode with him.
Yeah, thanks for that. But yeah, it should be good. At least I've already watched it, so I've still only got 2 more films to go. So we've got Ben from Film Vloggers. So brilliant podcast. I know a couple of years ago they did like their Halloween
Flogoween or something.
Flogoween.
They did an episode a day. I think they did the same for Christmas, I believe, as well.
I do know. I was on the Christmas one, and I think you
Yeah.
jumped onto one of the Halloween ones.
Yeah.
So we took it in turns, didn't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely something to go check out on their archives of Halloween, because they did give it their all. We're never doing that. I could not watch.
I haven't got the time.
I don't think I could watch a film a day of Halloween. I could do it of Christmas.
I think that would get a bit tiresome.
No, it wouldn't. And lastly, and not least, Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film. I'm pretty sure they'll be doing October Halloweeny ones as well, of 100 facts of... I wonder if they've done The Shining, actually. Maybe you should join that, Paul, with the fact that he still got it out. And I'm like, this year, you were like... you did pick on me. I went, what? We have to watch The Shining every year? And you were like, well, we do with Christmas films.
And there's more than one Christmas film we watch a year, is there? So, you know.
True, there is, but I watched it last year. I'm sure I watched something that was like near enough the equivalent.
Oh, you mean the TV series?
Yeah, so I feel like I've already done it.
Oh, that was terrible. But it did tickle my curiosity to see what it was, and like, I don't think I'd ever watch it again.
Oh, the eyes when they were flitting back and forth, that freaked me out. The fact that Tony was a real person. Floating in.
Oh, God, that would get started. But anyway, thank you to those patrons, and of course, from signing up, you can get your name shouted out too. Now, if you would like to listen to some of our other episodes, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And we'd also appreciate you giving us a 5-star review on any of the platforms that do the scoring system, such as Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and I believe Spotify do it as well.
If you do want to leave us a lovely comment and anything that you want us to review, please do rate us and leave it there. You can also do that as well on Instagram by liking our pages, following us. So we are on social media. So Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. So all under the same handle, SP_film viewers. So go hit that like button, subscribe, yada yada yada.
Yep, that's good stuff. Yeah. And that's a wrap for today. And look forward to maybe actually getting a scare from Sophie these next couple of episodes. But
no. Maybe I've just grown up. Maybe I'm a married woman now, and I am mature and don't get frightened.
Maybe. We'll see.
I've got a husband now, so I'm fine. I highly doubt it. If there's anything ghost related, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you what scares me, because they'll just vote for it.
So thank you very much for listening once again, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
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 Bye.